going to pass this around. This is news for my newsletter. If you're already receiving the newsletter, don't worry about signing up. But if you'd like to receive it, it goes out about once a month. It's a short, easy read, and it also, if you sign up on this, you will also receive notices like when our meetings are and this type of thing. So if you could just pass it around, those who want to sign can sign. Or if you have an update on your email, write update and we'll get that updated. So welcome everyone. Thank you for coming. We're just approaching 6 p.m. and so we'll go ahead and get started. And I'm going to ask if you would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So I'm excited to see everyone. I'm curious to know if there are any folks here who have never been to one of the meetings yet. A couple. Awesome. Thank you for coming, and appreciate that you're here, and I hope it's informative and that you decide to come back. This evening is a little bit different. This evening I'm very delighted to have Portia Middleton, who is the City Council member tonight. I wanted to let you know things are moving along at the county. You probably may have heard about our Homeless Policy Council. In the last couple weeks, the Board of Supervisors approved a Homeless Policy Council, and basically this is it's going to be a collaboration between all of the jurisdictions in Sacramento County, including the unincorporated county, but also a representative from each of the cities. And the purpose of the Policy Council is just to have conversations around homelessness, to discuss the overall issue, some of the positive things that are happening in the jurisdictions, how can we work together, what things do we have in common, what can we do to tackle homelessness at a regional level. And I think part of what started that conversation is that at the state level, the state legislature is asking for collaboration between jurisdictions in order to qualify for funding. And so we're anxious to make sure we maximize whatever we do bring to the region, and so we all are working together. And also I just want to say that I think at first when this conversation came up with the jurisdictions, there was a conversation around having another formal entity like a JPA, and that all the jurisdictions really kind of felt like their homeless problems were different. You know, we're also different. You know, Folsom has 60 or 70 homeless people. Citrus Heights has 200, a couple hundred, I think. Downtown has in the thousands, you know, it has more. And we all are looking at homelessness with, you know, we all have our own little way that we manage it in our jurisdiction. And so some of the jurisdictions were saying we don't quite know how, you know, what this policy council would want to tackle is, I think a good way to look at it is maybe there's a way that we can work together to open communications on, you know, what shelters are available at any given time, so that if we have someone who needs a place, we're all communicating and we know who has what available, and we know places that we can send people to get the help they need, either mental health or, you know, services, any kinds of services.
So it's a good time to bring out questions.
Sure.
At the end.
You can ask a question.
Specific. I just found out recently Volunteers of America have been sponsoring at Mather for homeless that want to move along and be upgraded for the last 5 or 6 years. and our navigator has been sending people on a regular basis, 15 at a time, and we've had some success there.
That's awesome.
As of January 1st, they will not be invited, and it will be taken over by people coming out of prison with drug sentencing. 190 people who are in jail right now will be now at May 3rd, January 1st. And they've advised a couple of people that we have there that we've advised to be homeless to get out of there because it's a whole different environment. So I don't know. I just found out about it. It's wow.
Okay.
So that's what's happening. The state is sending drug addicted jail prisoners there to be rehabilitated, and that's a whole different game.
The county has been, the county, there have been some challenges out at Mather with the Volunteers of America. I think it was one of those things where they had signed a contract with the county, and the cost associated, what they thought they could do, it turned out they couldn't do it for the price that the contract had stipulated, and there were issues around that. And so there are some new dynamics that are taking place. As you know, the lawsuit, the consent decree around our jails is requiring that we update our jails and we improve our services around the jails. And so we are on a 6-year path to coming into compliance with an agreement that we made with this lawsuit that we settled on. And we anticipate that we will have additional added programs for mental health, medical. We'll be improving the conditions in our jails, but we are also working really hard on recidivism and working with our inmates so that we can successfully transition them out. But on top of that, we are highly motivated to figure out ways that we can reduce the jail population, and in some cases, like with probation, we approved a grant that will be working on redirecting people, and working through probation with people who, instead of just sending them to jail, certain candidates who qualify as they can be sent out into the community and they're not a danger to the community will not be sent to jail. So there are some changing dynamics out there with Volunteers of America, and hopefully we'll have the services that you're losing there, we'll be able to pick them up somewhere else in the county. Did you have a question?
I don't know what Mather is.
Oh, Mather, out at Mather, it used to be Mather Air Force Base. It's now, it's sort of like a little, it's the unincorporated county, but it's like a little city in itself, a campus, so to speak. And there, we have the VA hospital out there, and there are some shelters, housing out there that are partially funded or administered by Volunteers of America, who over time had earned a contract through the county, and they were managing, homeless, taking in people who are homeless and teaching that, getting them their high school graduation, job training, treatment, wrapping them with services for alcohol or drugs or mental illness. And they've had a lot of success, and they've done a really good job, so that's an area that we definitely want to keep investing in. But they had run into some challenges in the last year and a half or so, and the county is just trying to right-size that, because they were not meeting the requirements of the contract that they had with us. And at the end of the day, we're responsible when we make these contracts with people who come in and do work with taxpayer dollars. It's our responsibility to make sure that the taxpayers are getting their money's worth, and that others are delivering on those contracts. So it was one of those kind of things, but I think we're back on track. It is definitely going to it's going to cost the county more but we can't, the homeless problem is growing faster than we're curing it. And so we have to continue our work and try to find a way to tackle it. This year at the Sacramento County, what we did is we have basically revisited our homeless initiatives and changed our approach. We are reaching into over $100 million worth of reserves, and we are going to be trying to put that money to work. We'll be coming out with some RFPs at the end of this year to just see if we can get some of the small nonprofits in the region who have some great programs and some good ideas for things they can do to help with this problem, specific issues. And we will be awarding one-time grants. It'll be maybe a 1 or a 2-year grant, and those grants hopefully will get put to work quickly and hopefully be a leg up for those small nonprofits that they can continue to grow their programs that way. So we'll see how that works. The homeless problem is really complex, and so at the county, our philosophy is to try to wrap services around people and coax them out rather than just put them in a, putting them in a shelter doesn't fix the problem. You have to find a way to find out, get to the heart of what it is the problem. Is it mental health? Is it drugs? And then they have to, oftentimes they are not willing or able to make that decision to come in out of homelessness, so sometimes it's coaxing them out of homelessness. So we have tons of programs, and I won't go into it tonight because we won't have time, but we are definitely laser focused on homelessness. It is the top issue of the day and the hour, and something that we're working hard on. And so I think my time is I'm going to close, but what we're going to do, I'm going to invite Portia Middleton to come on up, and I'm going to just let you know that once Portia is done, and we will bring up the water district, and if we have extra time, we'll all stand up here and you guys can shoot questions at us as you please. And so at this time, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Portia Middleton, who serves on the Citrus Heights City Council, and she's going to provide an update on Citrus Heights for us.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out this evening. My topic of choice is going to focus on Sunrise Mall, because I know that's been something that I've been following in the Facebook groups, and everyone has a lot of questions. There's a lot of misinformation out there, and I kind of wanted to be here to answer questions and to just kind of clear everything up. In the back, you'll find a couple of this handout here. It's a one-pager that answers some of the questions we saw on Facebook groups that they're asking. Like, is the mall closing? What is a specific plan? Things like that. And it just really gets down into it and addresses it. But we know that the mall opened in 1971, and over the past 15 years, we've seen a decline, almost a 50% decline in the retail base. And in 2018, in the mall, Sears closed, and that had a really dramatic impact for us, and it really made the council start to stop and take notice and really focus on what can we do to make sure we don't get any further down this road. We don't believe in encroaching on people's businesses. The mall is privately owned by 5 owners. And over the last 10 years, we've had 3 separate owners. And the city decided to take a more proactive approach. And we voted back in October to take on making a site-specific plan to really look at and decide what needs to go in the Sunrise area, in that mall area. Because there's 75 acres of parking that is extremely underutilized. And what we decided to do, we approved that project, and over the next 18 to 24 months, we're going to be reaching out to the community in the first phase, asking for input. What do you want to see in that mall area? How do you want it to look? do we need housing? Do we need more multimodal transportation? How can we make it safer? How can we make it more convenient, more attractive for our community and within the region? Because Citrus Heights sits right in the middle of, two interstates, major interstates, and, Sunrise and Greenback is a very busy artery. And we want to make sure that we capitalize on that, but we also make sure that we make our community members have comfort. We don't want us to feel overstressed. We don't want to become a bustling downtown. We want to maintain our identity as a small community. And so after we get the input from the community, we're going to go into the CEQA and EIR, which is basically the structured documents that determine what can be in these areas, what's the environmental impact, how can we reduce greenhouse gas emissions, all these, really important things. And this process, we want to incentivize developers to come in and to help really redevelop and really be creative about what Citrus Heights is going to look like for the next 20 years. Now, obviously in 1971, when the mall was built, I was not born. Okay, that's no surprise. But my family and I, we live here, and we have grown to like Sunrise Mall. We live just less than a quarter mile away. We walk to the mall sometimes. We shop Birdcage Heights, and we like the idea that we can be able to get around safely and shop. And we try to shop local. And I encourage all of our residents to do the same thing. So I don't know. Are there any questions specifically about what I've talked about? Yes, Mr. Warren.
Mr. Warren?
Don't be difficult.
Can we talk about something besides the mall?
Oh, absolutely. I'm open book.
I just want to know if the proposed line of credit is going to be used to pay the $1.2 million settlement.
It is not. That's my understanding that it is not. That line of credit has gone to purchase the Sylvan property, and we're working to find a developer to utilize that property so that we can recoup our money, because we've been a debt-free city, and we want to try our best to maintain that.
I have a question. What has been the impact of a lot of the e-commerce, like the Amazons? Because I know a lot of business owners in the community, they have been significantly impacted by, Amazon's on TV 24 hours a day, on every channel. And reluctantly, I had to buy something from Amazon. So has there been any studies that talk about how business owners have been impacted?
So we have our council members go out, we walk with the chamber, we talk to the businesses, and they have told us that there's been a tremendous impact with Amazon. They're faster, they're cheaper, you just can't beat them. And so we're trying to figure out how do we get around that? Because Sacramento opened the huge hub in that area, and so it's really, we don't have any land to build on, so we're trying to figure out how do we reposition ourselves. Do we become an entertainment district? Do we build more housing? What is it going to take for us to actually be able to survive and move past this? Because Amazon's here to stay, obviously. They're not going anywhere, so we just have to be more creative about our approach.
Thank you.
Yes.
The company that you hired to do this research, I checked their sites out where they have done it already, and they're gorgeous. And we have JCPenney stores in 2 of the malls in LA, and so I've called the manager, and he says its business is increasing, while most malls like our old mall are decreasing. They're 35% empty. But the plan of the team that you hired, the promotion that you guys put together is perfect for us. Our people want it a one-stop center. They don't want to go to Folsom to Harris and go to a theater. They want a fitness center in there. They want an activity center for kids. And we have it all there. They want maybe some nice apartments towards the back. Not a lot of them. Those people can shop right in the store. And I know JCPenney's is planning a promotion that we are faster than Amazon. I bought a shaver 3 days ago. They called me 2 hours later that it was at the store. How did they do that? Well, there's inventory in the store. So to beat Amazon, they took the inventory right out of the store. And I got a better price. And they called me 2 hours later, come and get your shaver. And they're putting a promotion together to counteract Amazon. I have a daughter that buys 8 dresses from Amazon, and she ships 7 of them back, and no problem. She doesn't go into a store, but if they can say we're faster, go after them. Go after them. Macy's got an online. Penny's is, 1903 had a catalog. So they're updating, and now they're pulling a third of their inventory right from the store. So in 1 hour or 2 hours, they can beat Amazon on that one. So they've got a campaign together that we're taking on Amazon. We're going straight at them.
That's amazing.
Get that
That's
public
great.
out there. But they like your idea. I've taken to two of the managers there because they're voters, and they love the idea that we could use some of that parking for good paying customers right out their door. They love that. They love the center that could be an entertainment center. They love that. That one-stop concept, boy, they'll vote yes for sure. And I think it's so exciting when I heard the company you got, because I asked him to send me some emails, and wow, fantastic.
Very excited, very hopeful.
Calling the people, they said, yes, it's working here. So go for it.
Awesome. Yes,
I have a question about the Auburn revitalization project.
Okay.
Going towards Roseville, so it's the last stretch.
Yes.
Kirby and, not Sunrise, but Auburn Boulevard, Riverside area right there on Auburn Boulevard.
Yes.
So I know that's been pushed out, so is there a reason behind that, or?
Lack of funding.
Okay.
The city really has to depend upon not only our tax revenue and what we can bring in, but also like when we do initiatives like, the gas tax and Measure A. And when those projects get sidelined or we don't get the piece of the pot that we're promised, then we have to keep pushing those projects out. And so the city is being very proactive in trying to figure out ways that we can kind of just move forward. The city of Citrus Heights was built off of, the gumption of some really, independent thinkers, and we're just like, you know what, if you can't give it to us, we'll get it done ourselves. So we're working on it.
Because there's so many empty lots right now.
Yes.
That one on the corner of Twin Oaks, that's been empty I've lived there 11 years. Our family's lived there for 11 years, and it's been empty, I think 10, and they never built anything. So it's just, I don't know, property like that just sits and it just kind of becomes an eyesore. And
Right. And I know last year, the Planning Commission looked at even how the lot sizes, and we said that, half-acre lots, we'll even say that we can put more houses on a half-acre lot. We've tried to rezone and really rethink about how we can develop areas to encourage people to come out and build and to.
Especially with Kaiser right there now, they built that brand new MLB building.
Yes.
I mean, there's a lot of people that'll drive just over the bridge and shop there if the stores are decent and if the area doesn't have a lot of homeless or any of that, so.
Like, don't tell any of the city staff, we're like, we need homeless. Anyone else? Yes, anyone else? Yes.
How much money does the city receive for taxes for online shopping?
0, as far as I know. That is
Really?
Yes.
It all goes to the state? I get charged taxes for online shopping,
So you get charged taxes,
which is fine. I mean,
yes.
yeah.
But it's one of those things where we have to kind of figure out how do we, when we have delivery, how do we capture that? And that's what we're working on trying to determine too. Something I spoke with my city manager about. How do we capture that? Especially like a couple months ago, the Sacramento Bee, put out an article saying that now local jurisdictions can capture some of that revenue if Amazon delivers. But how do we do that? How do we capture that? How do we work together with Amazon? And we're trying to prioritize things. We have roads, we have the mall, we have a lot of things we're trying to prioritize, and there's only so many staff hours that we can really utilize. Yes.
I have a question about street repair. I don't think there's any street in Citrus Heights that doesn't need at least some work in the neighborhoods, especially thoroughfares. Do we see any bigger light at the end of this ongoing tunnel as far as revenue to better approach our repair schedules?
So I think our repair schedules are pretty robust, but we're dealing with infrastructure that it's aging. It's been there for longer than I've been alive. So we're trying to find the most critical streets that need to be addressed. We're trying to make sure, at least in our neighborhoods, that those streets that are, within our little offshoots of the main drives are paved and are taken care of. But like I said, it's limited funding, and we're hoping that when we get our property taxes back in the next couple of years, that we'll be able to put more of that towards actually repairing the streets.
So we're not just dependent on the gas tax, for the new gas tax.
So it's about 50-50. So we are dependent on it, but we can only go as fast as the money comes in and as far as the money will go. And as the infrastructure continues to age and decline, it could cost us more money. So the longer it goes, the more it costs us. So we're really trying to fix the ones that are really, really in disrepair first, and then trying to hopefully we'll catch up.
Portia, I might be able to add a little bit to that. I serve on a board, Sacramento Area Council of Governments, and At the Council of Governments today, we voted on our MTPSCS, Metropolitan Transportation Plan Sustainable Communities Strategy. And it's a plan that's required through state legislation to show that we're going to meet the guidelines of state policy that was passed over time back in 2014, AB 32 and SB 375, that required us to come to certain minimum standards on air quality and so forth. And so at the state level, we have made that a decision that we want to be a leader in the new green economy, and part of that is, reducing the number of cars on the road and encouraging different modes of transportation. And so a lot of the funding that comes down from the state level has these requirements that we do complete streets that add bike lanes and sidewalks and trees, and but the cost associated with that is challenging for different jurisdictions. And at the same time that we're requiring that, the state and the Fed over the last decade or two the last decade have basically significantly reduced the amount of money that they're giving us to maintain our roads. And then on top of that, like Portia said, when we became a city, we were subject to a law that was passed in 1994 called revenue neutrality, which meant we had to give away our property tax dollars for 20 years, Portia, or 25?
25.
And so we get that back, like she said, and that will help. But I think the point that I wanted to make is in this MTP that we just passed, it's a plan, we passed this MTP over, the last one we passed, we weren't really, the goals that we made in that plan, we didn't reach. We weren't able to reach the goals because they were just too aggressive. We couldn't do it. But we put another plan, and we worked for a year the staff worked for a year to try to figure out what can we do, how can we get our air quality, get down to what they're requiring us to do. Basically what they wanted us to do is by 2020 they wanted us to, I'm trying to remember, they're asking us to go back in time to come to air quality standards that bring the air quality back to what it was in 94 by 2010, and then by 2030 or 50 or something like that, we have to go like 84% below that. And I'm sorry, I forget the numbers, I don't have my notes, but the point I wanted to make to you is in this next plan, the conversation will open as to how are we going to pay for the roads. Will we have dedicated lanes, toll roads, fixed cost, because the gas tax, as people reduce the amount of gas vehicles that are being used, that money goes down, and it's not enough to pay for the roads. And on top of that, we have deferred maintenance on our roads, and so the cost to fix our roads is exponentially higher. So you asked the question, is it getting better? There will be another tax. Portia and I both serve on the Sacramento Transportation Authority Board, which is having that conversation right now about if we did have another tax measure, what will it look like, what will be in that tax measure. And that conversation is ongoing. The survey, there was some polling and surveying done, and it's really apparent that the citizens would like us to fix the roads.
Yes.
But that is not necessarily the priority that the state legislature is mandating us to do by law. And so we're caught in the middle of all that. And we have, I don't know if I answered your question, but I hope I enlightened you on the complexity of what's going on with the roads. They don't want us to drive. They want us to do ride sharing and do public transportation. But the problem we have is that people like living in the suburbs, and they like having their own car and the convenience of driving where they want to go. And that is the challenge that we're up against.
Well, I think that what we expected by agreeing with this new gas tax, that would really mostly be used to accomplish what we hoped would be accomplished with our streets. And we're not really, I don't think, satisfied with what we're seeing, reflecting on what we're giving up today. If it's going to be diminished tomorrow because we drive less, it's kind of like we're caught in the middle of this, like you just said. We're not sure that we getting our money's worth, I guess, is what I feel.
Well, it's hard because technology is changing so fast. We don't know where it's going. We don't know if if passenger rail and light rail is the transport of the future. We have this Uber is taken off like wildfire. People love just grabbing an Uber. And so the challenge we have is now autonomous is coming. So where do you put your money if you don't know where the future technology is going to take us, number one? And number two, are we always going to have roads? Because if we are, let's fix the roads, because it costs so much more to fix them. I mean, that's kind of what I sense is the logic of the average citizen. You have, they're just angry about their roads, you know, but anyway, sorry, I just wanted to add that to that conversation.
And not only roads, but bridges too. I mean, I can see the roads. I don't see what's happening to the bridges, but I don't have a good feeling that the bridges are being well maintained, or the freeway overpasses, or whatever the heck is above us. You know, it's not only just the roads that are bumpy, but I'm concerned about, and I thought that the new gas tax would also go to bridges, and overpasses, and all those things too.
The SB 1 was huge. It was the largest tax increase in the history of California. There was $500 million that went to passenger rail. There was like a third of it did go to regional transit, public transportation. There was money that went to roads, and there was a lot of discretion written into SB 1. The challenge with SB 1 is that the way they marketed it to the people in a way that said, this is going to fix your roads. And then when they had the repeal, that was the rebuttal on the repeal. This is going to fix your roads. And so everyone's waiting for it to fix the roads. But the challenge is, even with SB 1, it's not enough money to fix the deferred maintenance on the roads. And so they made it sound like, they marketed it in a way that was not really accurate to what was going to be delivered, I think, in my opinion. That's my opinion.
Yes, ma'am.
Just want to comment. Also, and from my perspective, also, people have to drive to get to a job where they get better pay. So you're always going to have people on the road who are commuting to their jobs. All of us would love to live 10 minutes from our work, but that's just not possible sometimes, especially like in downtown Sac. If you work in downtown Sac, not everyone can afford those rents or those housing costs. So the housing cost, I think overall, it's driving a lot of these issues too.
I agree.
And affordability, and people want their, when they make money, they want to be able to spend their money in a way that they like.
Yes.
The city tested Fair Oaks, Old Auburn, left turn, right turn.
Yes.
Has there been any report back on whether that traffic went somewhere else, or was there any resolve on that? Did we learn anything from that?
So the staff has not given their final report, but preliminary results, and from what I've heard from people who live in that area, mixed bag. I liked it. It was the first time I felt safe actually riding in a bike lane. But I mean, that's probably because the traffic cones were there. But I mean, I don't know. I think more studying has to be done, but I'm going to really wait to see what the staff has to say.
I saw two people driving through that bike lane.
Oh, that's not okay.
They turned off gear real quick. They always do.
No, there were cones there.
No, they were in between the cones and the sidewalk. So
You just took away all my confidence right there. Okay, I don't want to take up too much more time because I know the Water District has some really interesting things to tell us. Come on.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Oh, yeah. So we're really excited to have David Gordon and Susan Talwar. David is the Citrus Heights Water District Operations Director, and Susan is Administrative Services Director, and they're going to tell us a little bit about some things that are happening at the Citrus Heights Water District. And by the way, we love our water.
Great. It's very good quality water. Thank you. So thank you, everybody, for giving us your time and attention tonight. We come to you with our annual road show that we do come this time of the year, and what we'd like to do is come around and talk to you about what's going on at the district. So more importantly, we wanted to talk about the 2020 proposed capital improvement program budget and funding. Just a little bit of background on the district. It is our mission. We are mission driven, and our focus is on quality, reliability, and efficiency of delivering high quality water. And we do overlap the city. Our district itself overlaps the city by about 2/3. So 2/3 of our district is overlapping in the city. The other 1/3 overlaps about Orangeville, Carmichael, and Fair Oaks. And we are governed by a 3-member board, which we are divided up into divisions. So our board members come from specific divisions within our district. A little bit about our budget process. Unlike like the city, where they are on a fiscal year from July to June 30th, July 1st to June 30th, we run on a calendar year. So we start on January 1 all the way through December. And as far as our revenues, 96% of our revenues is rate funded. So that is what we bill the customers for, delivering the water that you receive. And we do try to look for opportunities for grants, and David will be touching on that a little bit later, particularly when it comes to reinvesting back into our capital improvement program. With that, I would like to say that, we are very, very proud that our single largest expense that we do have is us reinvesting back into our infrastructure. We are always evaluating and working closely with the city to coordinate as well on reinvesting, replacing, upgrading our pipelines so that we can continue to deliver that water to our customers. So I'd like to turn it over to David, who's going to talk more about the capital improvement program.
All right. Thank you, Susan. While I get started here, I just want to kind of divert your attention to this little blue area here at the top. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about the capital improvement program for the Citrus Heights Water District. The capital improvement program includes water main replacements, water service replacements, fire hydrant replacements, well development program, and keeping up with all of our wells that we currently have, as well as all of our fleet and facilities. So it incorporates all of that area. And as Susan mentioned too, is that we, every year we look at our list of where we're having some issues, and we make sure that we're going towards the right replacements each year. And then we also closely work with the City of Citrus Heights and the county on some of their improvement projects, such as the safe sidewalks to schools, and make sure that we're in lockstep on fixing these streets, because nobody really wants, we don't go out on purpose to try to make a nice water main line down a new street. So we try to stay always in sync with them. And I'll touch on a larger project that we are going to be embarking on here soon, where we will be opening up more streets and looking in the future with the city on their capital improvement program as well as ours, and making sure that those are linked up in long-term planning. So that's kind of one thing that we're constantly looking at. Just to let you know, we spend about $2 million a year on water main replacements specifically. And on this little graphic here, where it shows our boundaries, I know it looks a little odd, but these water service boundaries is established from when we started developing from the 1800s till now. We became incorporated in 1920. So I know our boundaries look a little odd, but that's kind of what happens when a new development goes in and says whose pipes are closer, and that's how you get annexed in. And so the red dots there show our proposed projects within our service boundary, and then the green dots there, the little asterisks, show the projects that we've completed this year. This $2 million a year for water main replacements really is about 1 mile per year of water main replacement. And we have approximately 250 miles of water main within our system. So, doing the math, we're on a kind of a 250 year replacement cycle, right? So it doesn't take Einstein to figure that out, but the thing is that we're actually in a good spot right now. And the reason for that is that most of the development that occurred here in Citrus Heights and also in the unincorporated county is that it was developed between 1960 and 1985. But we need to plan for those to start aging out, that infrastructure to age out. So in the bottom left corner here in this orange area, there's a few bullets there that are talking about an advanced planning study that we embarked on 2 years ago, where we put together a 24-member customer advisory committee to look at long-term planning of this water main replacement project, looking at this tidal wave of water mains that will probably start to occur needing to get replaced actually starting in 2030. And the reason why 2030 is there is that an average water main is expected to last about 70 years. And so starting in 1960, when these water mains were started to get put in bulk by developers, fast forward 70 years, that's where 2030 comes in. So really we're looking at a 50-year horizon in the study, and so we went to the CAC was very much involved in how do we replace this, what's the replacement strategy, as well as what is a funding strategy. So the study is not complete yet, but very much getting close to that, and how do we pre-fund as well as move into the actual implementation of these water main replacements starting in approximately 2030, and how is that going to be done? Another very large advanced planning study that we're doing is a water meter replacement program revamp, and what this is that we're on a first generation of water meters. So we installed all of our water meters from 1998 to 2007, and these water meters are expected to last 20 years, although I think that they're going to last a little longer than that. But for planning purposes, we need to understand how much is this going to be costing the district to actually go back and replace this, all of these water meters. And as we were starting to study this a couple years ago, we said, well, why are we all using different water meters, as our neighbors? And I wasn't here when we put in all these water meters, but we started talking to our neighbors about putting out an RFP, and then our neighbors said, hey, well, we'd love to do that. We're on our first generation. And then another agency jumped in. And so now we have a 12-member consortium of agencies that are actually going to embark on this study together. And this study is actually, this project has never been done before as far as a asset management program going through 12 agencies. So we're hoping that that we're going to get economies of scale coming out of the study, for understanding all of the water meters of the replacement cycle, from testing, from bulk testing through different agencies, pilot testing, different types of meters. And already we're getting economies of scale just for the study. For us to do the study alone, it would have been $450,000 approximately. And right now it's about $150,000. For us to do this with 12 different agencies. So we are the lead agency. This is actually one of my projects that I'm leading up, but yes.
So my neighborhood, I'm running 90 to 100 PSI, way over what code requires.
Yeah.
What type of impact is that having on the meters? Those meters should last more than 20 years.
Yeah.
There's really very little that can go wrong. So you're putting too much pressure on our systems at the house, which means either we reduce it down through a regulator, but we have excessive pressure, and I know we're gravity fed, but as a city, or have you thought about ways in which we can reduce the pressure going into homes? I've seen so many toilets blowing out. So I'm a plumber.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen the impact that the pressure has on our neighborhood, and it's ridiculous. And, and then the cost is to sit there and put a regulator on. So, anyway.
No, that's a great comment.
The material you're replacing on the water mains, what is that? I mean, what was put in the 60s?
So there's a mixture of actually a cement, asbestos cement pipe, and there's also some PVC that was put in. There's some ductile iron. Now what goes in is PVC and ductile iron. The PVC is a lot different than the PVC that you see in your home, for residential use, where the PVC is this thick compared to, the
So you're not replacing ductile iron?
Not
You
yet.
have to.
So some of the old steel, so right now, currently our capital improvement program is focused on a lot of this wartime ration steel, where, it was very thin walled, and, I don't want to really get into too much of the ductile iron, but they actually coat the inside with mortar. And so just like with concrete now, where you use steel and concrete as a good marriage to strengthen the whole thing and keep all the chemicals working together, the same thing with water mains. And so it keeps the water main, it prevents it from rusting, as well as...
So you're targeting those areas first?
Yeah, those older ones, yeah. Those are our problem child. But we're not having a significant amount of failures. We're not having any big failures currently. I think that the only times where we do have a failure is because a tree wrapped around a main, and it was, the tree failed and took the main with it. Or somebody drove over a fire hydrant, which I'm sure Ron Lawrence has gotten a phone call in the middle of the night for, maybe. So
Is it possible to, if you live in an old house that was built in the 50s, is it easy to find out if the integrity of your plumbing under the house is adequate? How do they do that?
Well, I think that you'd have to do an inspection, but if you go through the crawl space, as you probably probably can give a better explanation to this. But so if there is one,
If it's under the ground, how do you know if you have water leaks?
So our water meters will, we will actually come out to a resident's home if they're suspecting that they have a leak, and we can verify through the meter right away if there is water moving through the meter, and you don't have anything else on. And also through our billing system, we are flagged. Currently, we do not have meters that are instantaneous. It's instantaneous data. And so that's part of the next thing where we're studying is the next technologies that are available to allow us to assist with our customers and notify them, instead of being in such a big of a lag time where we go out and do touch reads, every 2 months to a home. Now it's kind of, you're fed maybe once every week, once every day, twice a day, or just instantaneous. So we can be flagged of, hey, there's a major leak going on somewhere, or there's water theft occurring. So if somebody's been turned off and now it's turned on, it'll alert us right away. So these are some of the pros to it, but there are some cons to advanced technologies. And going back to the pressure, this is something that we are looking at, and we are going to be rolling out a program here about pressure reduction valves that we're going to be providing to customers to install, like a rebate program. And it's not totally flushed out, but I know that's something that one of our board members who strongly believes in. And we do know that our pressures are very great, but and we're looking into reducing those and possibly even capturing clean energy off of that with SMUD. So that's something that we're want to look at, but we don't want to have unintended consequences of lowering our pressures where we might have a fire hazard in a different area, portion of our agency. So, it's a complex web of water mains, so we need to really study how to best put that type of system in.
I'm looking at understanding that we're growing citrus heights building-wise, commercial and residential. Does that demand, those increases, will that have an effect on our rates in any way because you're going to be supplying more of your resources? Does that require more of a rate increase perhaps on the horizon for us as residential, established residents?
Do you want this or do you want me?
Yeah, if I can start, I guess. When developers come in and purchase these properties, they are buying into our system. It's like a system buy-in method, and there's a capacity fee that we are charging them, which helps to offset for them to take on that load of the system itself. So that's one area of it. And then the second area is when we do have new residents, what we are finding is that most folks are conserving, especially after the last drought that we had in 2015. It's become the new norm. So our revenues and water demand is kind of flattening out. In fact, it's going to probably start declining is the way through the Project 2030 study we have seen, and that it's starting to decline. People are using less water, and with homes being compact too, there's not much land, so the irrigation and water irrigation is also being reduced. Where before we started off with farmlands, how many years ago? Initially 225 farms, and now we're at residentials who are using very little water. And plus then we have some of the state mandates where we're going to be forced to comply with 50 gallons per day per person at some point and go through that part too. So there is a lot of factors when it comes to the rates. When we are looking into the rates, we are modeling through our financial model and putting in what the demand, projecting out what the demand is going to be based on historical trends and what we see happening in the future.
Kind of dovetailing off of that is that our demands in 1999 before the meters was about 23,000 acre feet, and so an acre foot is about a football field covered in 1 foot of water. That's what our whole system demand was for the year. Now it's about 12,000, so it's almost in half. So that's kind of perspective of water efficiency that we're getting in now. Yeah. And so, but it kind of goes right into our, I want to talk about our groundwater well program, at the top of the next page, which is, what Susan was talking about as far as the drought of 2015, this is kind of the new normal of us seeing these type of conditions as well as how they're operating Folsom Lake. Folsom Lake is used for a flood protection reservoir more so than it is a water supply. And so we need to make sure that we have, that when you turn the tap on, that water is running at all times. It's very important for you, our customers, as well as for us just as a public health and safety, is that, if those pipes go dry, well, it's a big toll on our system. I'd knock on wood, I guess. So, shouldn't say that out loud. But currently, we average about 90% of our water is actually from Folsom Lake through our wholesale agency, San Juan Water District. Then we supplement that with about 10% of our groundwater wells. That use is just pretty much operational. We don't utilize them to drown out our groundwater basin. But when Folsom does go down low, we want to make sure that groundwater reservoir beneath our feet is there to utilize. And so this is really kind of the new way of operating water supply throughout the state, is balancing the surface water when it's wet and groundwater when it's dry, and making sure that all of our water resources is there, not just next year, but also for all the years to come. So we really want to invest into our groundwater program to just make sure that those supplies are always there for you, the customers. And so Susan is going to now talk about some of our budget for this next year. Oh,
question?
Yeah. Question.
Yes. So I wanted to ask a question about groundwater. Sure. Does your agency have the water rights on the Auburn corridor between Sylvan Corners and Dewey, or is that some other water agency?
Sylvan Corners.
No, Costco, across the
Yeah.
way to the library?
Yeah, so we're right we end at Applebee's. That, is that,
Applebee's and you go down to Dewey?
yeah,
Okay.
so we don't serve anything to the east of
Answered my question, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so as we focus on service and
west.
capital reinvestment, we start out our budget process typically in June with a strategic planning session. So we have our board members, our 3 board members attend, and also most of the district staff is involved. And what we do is we come up with the major initiatives, and the board directs us to go ahead and, start planning out a budget for what we want to cover as far as our goals and objectives are for the following year. And with that, as you look at the pie chart that we have here, our major focus, as I had said, was 28% is our biggest, single largest expense is investing back into our infrastructure. And that's pretty much to the water main replacements and installations that David talked about up here, and also our water supply as well. So reinvesting, whether that's into revitalizing or rehabilitating our wells or purchasing new property so that we can build new wells and constructing wells. I think one well costs about $3 million. And so we look for grant funding as well, and we try to apply for those. I think we've put in for one that's about $1 million. There's no guarantee, and it usually comes in after the fact. So we have to reinvest in the well, we have to invest, in the well, construct it fully, and then apply and get the funds back. So that there is an upfront cost that we do have to get and apply for. The next part is the contribution to reserves. I say that because that 6% is basically, think of it like a savings that you may have in your home. You need to maybe redo your kitchen, or redo maybe some piping, whether it's to the bathroom or something like that, or maybe you need to get a new car, I don't know. But here at the district, for us, our major focus for the next coming year is going to be putting funds away into two of our major reserves. One of them is for the water supply, and that's about $1 million that we'd like to put away into the savings account so that we do have it available, ready to go when we do find a property we want to go ahead and reinvest in or construct a whole well. The other one is about $200,000 we have that's going to be set aside for the meter replacement program that you see here. While it is a small amount, I think we're projecting about $12 million is what we're going to need for replacing all of the meters. And obviously that is over time, but it is good to start putting some of that funds away so that we can try to focus more on a pay-as-you-go rather than completely debt finance. But we do look like at Project 2030, there probably will be a blended option because that is a $500 million project. The other part I'd like to focus on is our operations and maintenance. That's about 25%. So that is basically, we have many programs out there. It's number one, to keep the lights on and keep the district running, but then also programs that we offer through water efficiency. We have rebate programs, we have WaterWise classes that the district holds. We hold them in the community center, and they are free. We have about 4 to 5 each year. You can find that on our Facebook page. We post it on there as well, and obviously on our website as well. So, please do attend those. They're really good. They talk about, different topics on how to either how do you use your water more efficiently, whether it's for landscape use or now the winter is coming up, how do you prepare for the winter, and various topics that they have that are pretty interesting. 15% of our expenses is us just purchasing the water from San Juan. And we purchase our water from them, and what they're doing is they're reinvesting also into their capital infrastructure so that we do get our water. One of the major projects that they have coming online and that we are going to be talking about soon here in the next couple months, you'll hear from us, is the Hinkle Reservoir. They're relining their Hinkle Reservoir, which I don't think we have a picture of it on here, but they're relining it. Did you want to talk a little bit?
Yeah, so the San Juan Water District has a treatment plant, so once they treat the water, it goes into actually a covered reservoir that's really kind of like a big bladder, but it holds 63 million gallons of water. And so that is really our, holding tank, right? That's our backup. So if there is something an unplanned outage at the treatment plant, we have a lot of water in that reservoir that can, supply us probably for a few days. But, the one thing that they're looking at is replacing this, and it's about 45 years old or so, and so now it's they're looking at replacing it next year. It's a $30 million replacement, and so we're working with them on, how much is that project actually going to be, and how much it might take a toll on us for turning on our groundwater wells to supplement that water. So that's another example of why we need those, to make sure that those wells are nice and healthy for situations like that.
Thank you. And, we do run a pretty lean operation, and about 26 cents for every dollar that you spend on your water goes towards staffing, itself, salary and benefits. So we are pretty lean. We are about a 35-member staff, serving about 20,000 customers, which is actually pretty lean regionally compared as well. Regional rate comparison, just to kind of talk about where we are just here in this graph here. Even with the new proposed rate on the little blue box there, you'll see we still fall about 10% below the regional average. The increase that we're proposing to the board is equates to about 22 cents per day for an average household of four, family member of four. So if you have any additional information that you want to find out, we do have our public hearing scheduled on November 25th at 6:30 at Rush Park at the Community Center, the Sunrise Patio Room. You can also visit our website. You can call us as well if you have any questions. We have Facebook, and visit us on YouTube. YouTube, I can say we have a lot of videos most of our videos on the Project 2030. Do look at those. It really gives you a good insight on what our water mains are. It's hard to picture, but I mean, this little picture is just a small picture of it's underground, so sometimes it's kind of like out of sight, out of mind, So those YouTube videos on Project 2030 really will give you a good understanding on our water mains and our reinvesting into capital improvement program. And soon we'll have the water meter replacement program too, because we do have a customer advisory committee that we have put together, and I know Portia was on there too for a little bit. So all those meetings for the Project 2030 for the water meter replacement program, we invite folks to come and hear what we're doing. They happen about every 3 months is what we've been averaging. So any questions? Yes.
That $68 we were talking about, I left my house for a month. That's going to be my bill, whether I'm there or not.
So this is based on a family of four, $68 a month, based on a family of four using about 20 units of water a month.
If I leave, will I have a bill?
Yes. You will have your fixed charge that we charge, but you won't have any usage charges because you're not using your water.
Is that $67?
So it might be a little lower if it's just you. It would just be probably your base, and then you wouldn't have any charges. That's based on 20 units of water.
Oh, okay, thank you.
So do you have any programs for seniors?
We do not at this time have anything. The way that the state water code is set up is we have to provide equal and fair water. So we are looking into it, and I know there is some programs out there that I think sometimes that does come across, and we try to look into it if we can in any way.
I'm just curious, when we have issued days of watering in the leaner years, is that set by an overall umbrella district, or does each water district set their own dates that we can water our yards or whatever?
It depends. Usually we go in with the regionally to make sure that we're going out with the regional message, so that way there's no confusion between what our wholesale agency and all of the family of agencies that are purchasing water are doing. And so, like this gentleman was saying, it's where are we located? And it's kind of like, you don't want your neighbor having to do something different than you are. So you want to have some, yeah, exactly. So.
If I understood the gentleman, he asked you where you covered if you were to pay costs and stuff. Does that mean that you do not cover all of Citrus Heights?
No, we cover about 65% or so of Citrus Heights.
Because I live up for Daly and Antelope, that area, and I'm on Cal and Water. And I want to get rid of them. They're too expensive.
Yeah, we still are pretty low, especially here at Callan.
Well, move into our area.
That's right.
I hear they're redeveloping the mall possibly.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. That was so informative, and it's 5 minutes after the hour, so out of respect for everyone's time, we'll be here for a couple minutes if you have questions. I think Portia will be here also, and Chief, and so thank you everyone for coming, and hope you have a good week.
You know, you gotta go pick up kids.